It's 2026 and you are looking to start a reselling or side hustle and you're looking to choose which is the best model. So what I'm going to do in this episode is go through the various selling models, whether you're selling on Amazon, Walmart, or other places, the pros and cons for each, and tell you why one of them is hands down the best one, especially if you are just starting out. I will say that this is really intended for those who are just starting out, who maybe don't have a lot of experience, who've seen videos about wholesale and private label and retail arbitrage and online arbitrage and selling on eBay and doing live auctions on whatnot, and are confused as to which is the best. You've seen people who will post, seven figures. They'll show you their $1 million warehouse. They'll show you thousands of dollars of inventory. They'll, show you hundreds of packages, pallets arriving, and all of that is good. It's just that when you're starting out, at least when I was starting out, I didn't have a lot to start out with. And I definitely wasn't ready to hire employees and lease a warehouse and do 3PL and all these other things. So if you're like me and you're just starting out, but you're still wanting to understand what are the pros and cons of each method, what is required, if you're going to start doing online arbitrage, or you want to go into wholesale, or you want to start private label with your own product, what's the advantages, disadvantages, and why I think that online arbitrage is by far the easiest to get started in, and a great way to start scaling from scratch if you don't have a lot of experience or capital to invest.
There are four main reselling models that I will be talking about here. The first is wholesale, the second is private label, the third is online arbitrage, and the fourth is retail arbitrage. Now, these are obviously not the only reselling models. There's drop shipping. There's people that start their own Shopify store. There's obviously eBay if you're looking for vintage or used clothing. But for the purposes of this one, I'm just going to focus on these four different reselling models. And these are all ones that you can do on major platforms like Amazon and Walmart. So the first one I will cover is wholesale. So wholesale, what is it? Pros and cons. So wholesale is basically buying branded products. So you are either coming into an agreement with an authorized distributor or a brand manufacturer. You're saying, I am a reseller. You are applying to be approved. And there are some requirements there, but essentially that you're establishing a direct relationship with a brand, a distributor, or a supplier. And you typically will see these on products that are high, that move very quickly, that are fast moving. They tend to have lower margin, even if you're only making 10 to 15% ROI. But if you're selling 1,000 a month, obviously that can make a lot of sense. A lot of these will have minimum pricing. They'll have minimum order quantities. There's a lot of positives in wholesale, but as a method of when you're first getting started, there's also some serious challenges. So essentially what you would do is identify in-demand products. You would choose a category, whether maybe you want to do grocery, maybe you want to do home goods or beauty or clothing. It could be whatever that you would like to do. You apply to open wholesale accounts, which is easier said than done. These places are choosy. There's a lot of competition. So you will have to establish you're a legitimate business. You've been in business for a while. A lot of times they'll require that you have a warehouse that you can receive inventory. And then once you have that approved and your account is set up, you'll be purchasing inventory in bulk. So you're not going to be going in and buying one or two of this or that. There's going to be minimum order quantities, and they're going to be pretty high. So you're going to have a high upfront capital needed. So you would need to have money to invest so that you can buy 2,000-3,000 of something or meet whatever the minimum order quantities are. And then, of course, you would send those in and sell them on either Amazon or Walmart or Shopify or whatever place that you're going to do that. So like I said, a lot of times they're going to want you to have a warehouse or 3PL, and that you'll also be ordering consistently. So you're placing orders consistently. They may have monthly minimums or things that they'll want to see. The pros are, of course, it's scalable. You have repeatable inventory. You basically have unlimited inventory that you can choose from. It's not as easy said that it's going to be profitable, or that there's not going to be other wholesalers or people on listings that you're going to have to share sales with. But in general, if you can get that relationship and you have access to those items, it's a scalable, repeatable inventory, high sales velocity with proven brands. So you have that strong supply chain, and you have the credibility with invoices, and pricing is usually stable with MAP policies, which is like the minimum advertised price. So say an item, the advertised price minimum is $15. You have 6 other sellers on the listing, and they're all selling it at $15. You can't come in at $14 or $13, jump ahead of them, get the buy box and all the sales, because they'll have a minimum price that you're allowed to sell it at. So the cons, of course, again, as I mentioned, high upfront capital needed. Those minimum order quantities can be pretty high. It's difficult to get supplier approval. There are methods and things along those lines, but starting from scratch, it's really going to be very difficult if you don't have a strong history, if you can't show you've been in business for several years, that you have a history of sales, that you have employees, that you have storage in the warehouse, things along those lines. So it can definitely be difficult to get supplier approval, especially on ones that are legitimate and have good, profitable items for sale. There are like liquidators and things like that. But even if you do get access to their catalog, you'll find that very few are actually profitable enough where it makes sense to proceed. Those storage and logistics challenges, if you are ordering a truck full of inventory, of how you're going to store that in pallets and things along those lines. And then there's a lot of people that want to do wholesale because of the different pros. And so there is competition. So you would need to have a legitimate business, a resale certificate, probably an LLC, inventory for budget, that storage, and that supplier outreach strategy. So that is the first method of selling. The wholesale, again, probably not going to be great for starting out from scratch or wanting to scale. A lot of people will start with like retail arbitrage, online arbitrage. Once they are scaling and they're seeing success, then they tend to want to go to wholesale. The next one I will look at is private label. So private label is essentially you have an idea for your own product, or you're doing research in a category where there's other people and you want to kind of make your own product with your own brand. Maybe you make some sort of improvement to something, or you simply copy something that's well selling, like maybe it's a pet product or something, and you make it with your own brand. You have it manufactured overseas. You buy samples and you buy inventory. You make your own label, your own brand, and then you list it. All these things sound great. So you're essentially creating and selling your own branded product. They're manufactured by third-party factories, often overseas, to save money. You control the branding, packaging, and pricing. There's no competition on your listings. So, people aren't going to jump on selling your product because it is your product, and inventory is purchased in bulk and owned outright. So to get high private label started, you would have to do research and find that demand and competition, try to find a unique angle on a product. You would have to come up with that product design and branding, source a manufacturer. So there's different like Alibaba or things like that you can look at to try to find relationships with overseas buyers. Typically, you'll do like a sample order. Once you are ready to proceed, you would then place bulk manufacturing and then shipping and launching the product. So some of the pros of that, again, you have that full control. There's no competition. You can basically set your pricing on that. There's strong long-term brand equity potential if you're able to build your brand. Higher profit margins at scale. Again, you're setting your own price and maybe competing with what similar products in that industry or that niche that you've chosen are at. And then once you build it up, it is an asset-based business that eventually you could sell if it's successful. The cons, unfortunately, are very high upfront manufacturing costs. So there are, again, going to be minimums that most places are going to look at. They may allow you to do a sample order just to have different samples of the product, but eventually you're going to have a minimum order quantity. You're going to have long lead times because basically you're shipping these things typically overseas, and that could take weeks or months. There's quality control and supplier risk involved. And I think the most one that's the biggest gotcha for people who are doing private label is expensive advertising and product launches. So it's great if you have your own product, your own brand, you list that product. And if you don't advertise it, it's very difficult to stand out. Like, how are people going to find it? So then you're creating pay-per-click campaigns or advertising campaigns, and you're spending a lot of money, and that's eating into the margin that you have on the product. And typically there is high competition in saturated niches. Again, it's difficult to come up with something that's truly unique these days. If you think of it, like you research it, like other people have thought of it too. That's not to say it's impossible. And again, you'll see some really great success stories, but you'll also see some people who are real and just are like, yeah, I tried launching a product of my own brand and just really struggled. So if you're going to start out, you definitely want to do that product research and differentiation, branding and packaging design, manufacturer vetting, especially overseas, making sure that they're legitimate, that they're going to be able to fill the product and have good quality. And you're going to need a budget for ads. So it's best for people who already have capital, who are long-term brand builders. Maybe you've graduated through different types of reselling. You are successful. You were able to set aside some money now that you've been able to scale. And then again, people graduate from arbitrage to wholesale to eventually private label. Starting out from scratch, it's going to be difficult. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I wouldn't say it's the one I would recommend. Next one I will jump to is retail arbitrage. Let's do that. So retail arbitrage is usually the lowest barrier of entry. This is where you will find people standing in stores, scanning items with their phones, trying to see if it's profitable on Amazon. And then if it is, they'll buy a bunch, 10 or 15 of them or something, and sell them and repeat that process. So essentially you're buying products directly from retail stores to sell online. Some retail stores are more reputable than others. If you go to Marshall's or some places that resell brands, or Goodwill or things like that, you may have some issues with invoices like TJ Maxx. But if you go to other online or other retail stores like Walmart, Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, DSW, established brands that will give you a good invoice when you're making purchases that you can demonstrate, either use those for gating, but also use those in case there's any questions on authenticity. You can definitely go to those types of stores. Essentially, what you would do is use your phone. You would go to the clearance section or maybe something that's on sale. You grab an item, you scan its barcode. It shows you a little keep a graph or seller ramp information on how much that product is selling on Amazon, whether or not it would be profitable, how much it would cost to ship, that sort of thing. So you typically are going to want somewhere where you're going to have margin. So you either have a coupon. If you're doing grocery, maybe it's one of those buy one, get one free, or buy in bulk and save. Clearance is a good one. Sales and discounts. You're going to want to have some sort of margin because you try to buy something at full price, expect to sell it on Amazon and make enough to have a profit. You're going to struggle. But stores have clearance and different types of sales all the time. So that's usually not too hard to find. And then you're basically buying products and you're listing those individually. You may only buy a couple of a product, and then it sells. Maybe you go and try to buy more, but it's not usually something you're going deep in when you're doing retail arbitrage. So to do that, you would just visit the store. You'd want to have an app or account already set up for something like Keepa or other things that'll give you you're able to scan the barcode and be able to look up that product on Amazon or Walmart. You can then identify profitable items. You purchase in those small quantities. And one of the advantages, of course, is you can list those items immediately since you're buying them in the store and taking possession of them. You have them already to sell, so you can immediately jump on those listings that are profitable, which is a big plus. So a pro of the retail arbitrage, it's easy to start, minimal setup. Obviously, you need an account. on selling account on Amazon or Walmart or eBay or wherever you're going to resell these. Low upfront investment, doesn't require a lot of capital to go and make a purchase of some items and list them for sale. You can buy a few items and sell them right away. It's great for learning, getting experience, getting your feet wet, learning the system. There's no supplier accounts or anything required. Cons of retail arbitrage, it's very time consuming and labor intensive. So obviously you need to go and drive to a store. You need to scan items one by one. A lot of times you're in the clearance section, you're looking at a random item. You haven't really researched it or know anything about the item. You're scanning the barcode. You're hoping it's profitable, and then you're hoping you're allowed to sell it. So if you're gated, you haven't established that or gotten a lot of things ungated yet, you may find that you find something profitable, but you're not able to sell it. There's limited scalability and inconsistent inventory because, again, you're just standing in the stores and scanning those items. It can be awkward or uncomfortable. I've done it. I scanned a lot of items at Big Five when I was starting out, and I was finding like baseball helmets, and I was finding like footballs and basketballs, things that would be like in demand and that would sell out on Amazon, and then they would have it and I could buy it. But it's a little awkward standing there with your phone and like just scanning things, but it does work. Most items that you'll find are not profitable or you can't sell them. So you're spending a lot of time randomly scanning things. And then at the end of the day, when you walk out of the store, you typically, unless you're lucky, you're not going to have a big shopping cart full of items for resale. It's a little bit more difficult to find items that are profitable. And then many of those products are going to be restricted or gated for resale. So if you're looking to start out and you don't have experience and you watch that low barrier of entry, all you really need is that scanning app, a list of some retail stores nearby, a budget for testing those purchases, and knowledge of the marketplace and the fees. So not a bad system, but what that brings me to, and the one that I do and I think is absolutely fantastic for people starting out, especially in 2026, especially taking advantage of AI and automation, is online arbitrage. So similar to retail arbitrage, instead of going to the store, you're looking at the website of a store. So maybe you bring up the website of Macy's or Walmart or Kohl's or a bunch of other different stores, and you're able to see all the products listed in front of you. You can then click on an item, you get all the details that you need, you can find the SKU and things like that. You can scan online sales, clearance, discounts, you can see things that are coupon eligible, other ways to manufacture margin, like using gift cards and cashback services like Rakuten or Mavely or Top Cashback. The products are shipped directly to you, or you can ship them directly to a fulfillment center, a prep center. So no in-store shopping is required. That's definitely a plus. How it works, you're going to browse the retail stores, you're going to analyze the pricing with the fees and the tools. So you can look up items one by one. You can do things like reverse sourcing or storefront stocking, where you find a product someone else is selling, and then you're looking in retail or online stores to see if you can also buy that product at a price that makes it profitable. You can compare the prices across marketplaces. So maybe you can look at the price on Amazon, on Walmart, eBay, Poshmark, Mercari. You can purchase that inventory online, which is very convenient. And then you basically, once you have the inventory, you list it, ship it to the item or ship it to the customer, and then reorder those items if they're profitable and they're still on sale. Pros of online arbitrage: you can source inventory from anywhere, anytime. Even if the store is closed, it's late at night. If you're after work, you don't have to drive to the store. It's much faster than in-store sourcing. You have the ability to compare multiple stores at once. If you're trying to find a particular item at a certain price, you can purchase that online. Works great with automation and sourcing tools, which I'll show you next. And it's a lot more scalable than retail arbitrage. Once you are finding products that are successful, a department that you like, and you're able to find similar products or reorder the same products that you've sold. Some of the cons of online arbitrage: so it does require consistent sourcing, because typically when you're finding something online arbitrage, you're not, depending on the item, I guess you could, but you're not typically buying like 50 of something. You're buying a few of them. A lot of times you're testing it out, or you may buy 5 or 10. But once those sell, then you're back to sourcing. So it does require that consistent sourcing to find new products. You're typically not buying the same product over and over, mostly because you're trying to find an item that is temporarily on sale or at a deep discount, and that the normal sell price is higher, so that when you buy it on sale, that sale ends, you go and you sell it at the new price, the standard price. That's where you're able to make the profit. The inventory is available. It can change. Again, a sale ends and things like that. So that can be a challenge of inventory availability. Pricing competition can reduce margin. So if you're finding a sale, you're finding an item, there's a chance that other people are also finding that item. And so there may be natural competition with other third-party sellers. So to do retail arbitrage, the online arbitrage, what you'll want to do is have some online sourcing tools, which I'll go into next, a list of the retail websites and kind of the department or area that you'd like to focus on. Make sure that you're using fee and ROI calculators so you're understanding what the fees are going to be, including the shipping cost, maybe packaging and other supplies. And you'll want to have an inventory tracking system so that, again, you can understand, was something profitable? How much did you earn? Is it something that you want to try to replenish or not? So best fit is sellers who value efficiency and convenience. Once you have a system, you can repeat that system over and then you can scale. I've done online arbitrage for quite a number of years. I enjoy it. Some people are saying it's dead or that it's difficult, but with this next thing that I'll show you, you can really take that to the next level. It's a game-changing tool, and that tool is web scraping. So web scraping is essentially being able to download products in bulk. So a web scraper is a script that'll go to a website such as Macy's or JCPenney or Kohl's. You tell it what products you want to download and examine, and it basically runs in the background. It does everything for you. So instead of you looking up a product one by one, looking at choosing from 100 different variants, trying to find which one might be a good one to sell, this tool is basically going to download all those products, every single variation. Some shoes and clothes and things like that can have 200, 300, 400 variants of just one product, because you're thinking every color has 12 different sizes. Sometimes the sizes are regular, sometimes they're wide, sometimes they're narrow. Certain departments like clothing and shoes can have hundreds of variations. But what this will do is download every single variant and be able to match it exactly to Amazon or Walmart or eBay and show you exactly which items are profitable. One of the major things when you are sourcing is time spent. I see a lot of people who are either doing that reverse sourcing or storefront stocking, spending hours and only finding one or two profitable products that to go, because there's a lot of challenges of going backwards, trying to find something that's already someone else is selling and you're trying to sell it too. Whereas this is scanning sales, it's scanning clearances. You're able to put in discounts for rewards programs. So like Kohl's has $10 for every $50 that you spend, which effectively is a 17% discount. So that's huge when you're trying to manufacture margin. You can use gift cards, you can use cashback credit cards, there's other coupons and rewards programs that you can stack. And that all really helps you find products that you can buy at a deep discount and then resell online. So it gives you all that information. And not only does it tell you, is the product profitable, but it's going to give you 20 or 30 data points. So not only is it saying just the ROI, but it's saying how many other people are selling it. Is Amazon on the listing? What's the sales rate? What's the estimated monthly velocity? How many times has it been reviewed? There's a lot of different data points. How many drops are there in Keep It? Things like that are going to help you understand the two main things for online arbitrage is how much can you make from it, ROI, but also the velocity of sales. You could find an item that's 100% ROI and you're like, fantastic. But if it's a variant of an item that just never sells, you're going to buy it thinking you're going to get 100% ROI, and then it's going to sit in your inventory forever because no one buys that product. So you want to find the products that both have a good ROI and a good history of sales and sales velocity, so you can sell it quickly, get that money back, get what you earned in profit on that, and then reinvest it. And that's how you scale naturally without having to put forward thousands of dollars upfront. This replaces manual scanning with automated sourcing. And not only that, but there is an AI smart analyzer that will literally take all those products, all the data points, and say, these ones are the best for reselling, and give you all the justification why, which is huge. So you would choose a retail store to scan. I have videos that go into, how to do that, but essentially you would just go to a retail store and look for banners that say clearance or 1-day sale or toy sale, whatever it may be, some sort of where you're, again, going to be able to manufacture margin. You go into there, you put in your filters, like maybe you're filtering out certain brands, maybe you want to have a price range, maybe you want to focus on products that are in store available for you to go pick up. There's a lot of different filters that you can use. Once you have that, all you do is copy that URL. You go to the scraping software, you put in that URL, you tell it how many pages or results that you want, and you click a button and say start. And that's it. The rest is automated. You don't need to know anything about scripting, web scraping. You don't need any other tools. There's no subscriptions. There's a lot of pros here. The data is matched against the marketplaces, primarily Amazon. It focuses on UPC matching. The reason is every variant of every product made in the US has a UPC, which is basically a unique product code that identifies it. The nice thing about Amazon is pretty much every item that they have has a UPC as part of when it was created on Amazon. And many or most retail stores also have UPC data that you can download during that scraping process. So there's a very high rate of matching. When you see a product and it says it's this product, this size, this color, you're matching it exactly to that same one on Amazon. If you were to try to do it manually and you're just looking up a product on JCPenney, there could be 10 or 15 products that look very similar on Amazon, and you're not sure which one is exact. And then you might accidentally list it on the wrong one. Someone buys it and says, hey, this is not the same product. And then now you're looking at a return. You may be looking at authenticity complaints, things like that. So a tool that can 99% accuracy match products is a huge game-changing win. The results are analyzed and ranked for you. So again, if you don't have a lot of experience or know what you're looking for, it's using these data points and showing you which are the top products. And there's often hundreds or even thousands of products that are like ranked A or B, like good ROI, good sales velocity. So you'll have way more products to choose from than you probably have money to spend. There's no automation or anything, so you can analyze literally tens of thousands of results. It uses those 10 to 20 data points. You tell the system what you want. It scans the products in minutes. So you can literally scan 1,000 products and you're probably looking at 10 or 15 minutes before you would get those results. And it eliminates manual spreadsheets and looking up things one at a time. No experience is required. And it also has brand ungating insights. So the two things that I hear as the biggest challenges for people, especially on Amazon, is I want to sell on Amazon, but everything is gated. And then the second one is I don't know what to sell, or I'm having trouble finding profitable products to sell in the things that you are able to sell. So the ungating analyzer that we have, it'll scan the sheet that's created when you're doing your scan. Say you have 20,000 different items that were downloaded when you ran your scraping job. It'll look at all the brands in there and it'll analyze them and show you, at least on Amazon, which are the ones that are reseller friendly. And by reseller friendly, there's certain brands that not only is it difficult to get ungated, but if you do manage to get ungated and you try to sell their product, they'll send you legal letters, they'll complain to Amazon, you'll get a strike in your account, and it's really a pain. So they'll do like copyright infringement, IP complaints, and they're a real headache. Usually, if you've purchased it from a legitimate source, there is the law of first sale doctrine where you're able to buy something new and resell it. But if a brand goes after resellers, it's a headache that you don't want. So what the brand ungating will do is say, do we find a bunch of other resellers on the product for that same brand? If there's a listing for like Jockey, for instance, and there's 40 sellers on that listing, there's a pretty good chance Jockey doesn't care that there's third-party sellers selling jockey products on Amazon. Versus if you try to sell something like Levi's or other different products, they will go after you. I've gotten letters. That doesn't mean they're going to sue you, but I have gotten letters from brands where I've been on there. I got ungated, got permission from Amazon to list it, but they weren't happy that I'm on their listing as well. So the brand ungating is going to save you headaches by showing you which brands are reseller friendly. And if there's other resellers on those brands, then there's a good likelihood that you're going to be able to get ungated and be able to sell those as well. So that's another bonus. That's no extra cost. It just uses the sheets that you create. So why this is a game changer, it's low cost, high value. So you could scan 1,000 items, you're looking at $3 the cost. And if you sold one item at a profit, that's going to pay for that and more. There's no subscriptions required. There's nothing else needed. Beginner friendly and scalable. So you literally need no experience or other tools. You can just tell it what you want it to scrape, whether it's Walmart. You could even scrape eBay if you want to find items to sell on Amazon. A little bit more risky because of invoicing, but it is a popular thing to do. You can scan thousands of products. It replaces those hours of manual sourcing and turns online arbitrage into a data-driven system. What I like to do is as soon as a sale goes live, I'm queuing up that's a scrape. You can schedule it to run. So if you know a sale is going to be starting and it's like 1 a.m. that those items go live, you can schedule that job to run. And then when you wake up, you have that spreadsheet waiting for you. Again, this is a great tool to involve virtual assistants for sourcing. So if you already have virtual assistants or you want to involve them, you can give them basically shooting fish in a barrel. You can give them these sheets that have tons of data points. They can do the additional vetting by looking in Keepa and SellerAmp and some other data points to see which is the best products to buy. So it's perfect for VAs. And like I said, when you run these, you will typically have hundreds of different items to choose from and you'll be able to be picky. Do you want to focus more on high ROI products, or do you want to focus more on maybe it's lower ROI, but they sell like hundreds a month, where if you buy 10 of something, like it's going to sell within a few days, and then you can replenish it, or you can go even deeper, buy 25 units or more. So that's a huge advantage. Once you get going and once you start scaling, once you have sales, the other thing is because this is a moment in time, it's not getting cached information. So when you get the information, you run a job, it gives you this sheet. Those products what it's showing you is immediately profitable. So the biggest differentiator between doing online arbitrage and doing fulfillment by merchant, which is you, versus sending it into FBA is the amount of time that you can jump on that listing. So say I find a pair of shoes and it's like crazy profitable because Amazon sold out or everyone else is sold out. The price is like 50, 60, 70% ROI. I could buy those shoes, but if I sent them to Amazon, I'm looking at 3 to 5 weeks before those are actually going to be live on the listing. First, it has to get to Amazon, then they have to receive it, then they transfer it around to their different data centers. Then it's finally ready for Prime. What happens is other people will find that product as well. And by the time it goes live, all that profit that you were expecting is gone. And now you're stuck with a product that's in Amazon's warehouse that you either have to sell at cost or even at a loss just to get rid of it. Whereas if you're doing FBM and you're using products like this, you can immediately jump on a listing. There's been times where I have scraped products from Kohl's. They're available for store pickup at a Kohl's nearby. I purchased 5 of them and it says, okay, it's ready for pickup in 2 hours. I list those items immediately on Kohl's because I know I have them. I purchased them. They're ready for pickup. I go down to pick them up. And by the time I've come home, I've sold 2 or 3 of them already. That happens all the time. You can immediately jump on the listing because there's going to be a good ROI. You can jump in and either match or undercut that buy box. And now you are the lowest seller, especially on a high velocity items. You're going to immediately start getting sales. You ship those to the customer. You get that money back much faster than if you had to ship it to Amazon, wait for that to get into stock, wait for it to get to the customer. So the turnaround time where I'm getting capital back is probably more along the lines of 3 to 4 weeks at most for FBM, where it's 3 months for FBA. So You're not sitting on top of inventory that you had to purchase up front. That capital is tied up. You're able to move that and scale quickly when you're doing fulfillment by merchant. And then as you scale, you can use a prep center. So I've gotten it to the point now where when I do make my online arbitrage purchases from retail stores, I will ship it directly to a prep center in Delaware. I don't pay sales tax. I'm in California, so the 8% sales tax can be pretty significant. And the cost I save on not saving or not paying sales tax offsets the charge that the prep center will do for the FBM prep center of the per product item. So I could send them 20, 40, 50 items, list them for sale. When it sells, the prep center will package, they'll receive the item, they'll remove any like stickers or price tags from the store. They'll box it, they'll ship it directly to the customer. You provide them the shipping label, and you never even have to touch the products. I also have another solution for return. I'm foolish in that I like to sell in shoes and clothing, which has a ton of returns, but I have a system for returns. It goes to a different prep center in Ohio. They receive the returns, they inspect them, they photograph them. I immediately relist those returns on the platform that I sold them on, but also on eBay and Mercari and Poshmark and Amazon and Walmart and any place that I can to quickly get those returns sold so that it doesn't hurt my bottom line. This is a complete system. I call it the 5 steps reselling system because you're basically repeating 5 steps over and over to scale, whether it's one product or 1,000 products. You have the marketplaces that you sell on. You run the scans to find those profitable products. You make purchases on those products. You list them for sale. You ship them to the customer. Those are the 5 things that you can do. If you have no money, no experience, start with 1 item, start with 2 items, start with 5 items. Get the experience, get the rhythm of what it's like to buy it, to list it, to get the sale, to print the label, to box it up. There's a lot of things that you can do to save time. And then once you scale, you can then partner with a prep center. They're going to look for probably 300, 400, 500 units a month that a velocity that you're selling at before, that you could use a prep center. But honestly, it's not that difficult to get to that level once you've started to build this up. The great news is with this tool, you can try it for free. So there is no billing required. Simply go to aiproductsourcing.com. The link is in my profile. All you need to do is put in your name and email. You'll get a password sent to you. You log in, and now you have 1,000 products to try for free. You can pick a store like Walmart or Kohl's or GameStop or Vitacost or Macy's, whatever you like. You simply tell it what you want it to scan. It's going to send you the results. You click a button, it goes right to that AI analyzer, and it's going to say, okay, of the things that you told it to scan, here are the ones that are the best. You click a button, you go to the brand and gating analyzer, and it's going to say, all right, here are the brands that it found when it was downloading those products. Here are the ones that are reseller friendly that you can target. So it is an absolute game-changing tool with AI, with automation. This is where you should be starting. This is where you should focus until you've really got the system down and you're scaling. There are people out there, that will get to 6 and 7 figures using online arbitrage. You don't have to go into wholesale or private label to get to that next level. If you really have this system down, you're reinvesting capital, you have a good buying power where you can go deep on the products that you know are going to sell. I sold about 400,000 last year. This is not my full-time job, part-time on different platforms. And of course, I'm looking to scale that even more. But the good news is this is perfect for all levels, and it's really easy to get started. So if you haven't tried it, definitely use it. And if you have questions or you would like a demo, I do one-on-one meetings. If you would like me to help you get everything set up, the exact same system that I use, completely optional, but I'm happy to do it. I'm also happy to jump on a Zoom call and show you exactly how it works, the different things, maybe focus on the areas or stores that you're interested in. If there are, right now there's 36 retail stores. If there are stores that you would like to see that aren't on here, join our free Discord. Let me know, send me a message on what store you would like. It's very easy. to add additional stores. There's definitely going to be a lot more stores being added.
Now that you understand the different models and why I believe that online arbitrage is by far the easiest to start if you are starting from scratch or you don't have a lot of capital to invest or you don't have a lot of experience, I invite you to subscribe, like the video, follow along. I have in-depth videos on product sourcing, how to find the right products, the different tools that I use, such as a repricer and inventory management, prep centers that I use so I don't have to handle inventory. All of that is in there. You can also work with me one-on-one if you so choose. But I also invite you to try the sourcing tool at aiproductsourcing.com. You can try it for free. You can scan any one of 36 retail stores, get a fully vetted sheet and AI recommendations on which products are best, and then just start small and get started. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. I'm always happy to answer questions. And as always, thank you for watching.